I've told this story before, but it's somewhat relevant. I walked upstairs with Rudy once to his living room, and the TV was on, or he had just turned it on, and the news was on. And there was a picture of a Tibetan Buddhist monk. May not have been Tibetan, may have just been Buddhist, and he may have been Vietnamese. But he had just doused himself in gasoline and had lit the flame, and he was on fire. And Rudy and I just stared at the picture. And the guy was unmoving, just burning. And Rudy said to me, "You have no idea how hard he is working." People think they're working hard spiritually in their day-to-day life if they sit and meditate for 20 minutes. Or if they're going through a period of stress and discomfort, if they add an extra 20 minutes. But the idea of work and meditation are so at odds for most people because meditation seems like the opposite of work. It's like stopping work. Just sit, just be quiet, don't do anything. Try not to think. Well, that's where the work starts. The real idea of meditating is to disengage from the world of matter. What matters and matter as a form. To step back a quarter of an inch, 3/4 an inch, a foot, step back. Gain some perspective on the totality. Most of us are so in the world, so completely caught by the world, especially in times like this, where it's in our brain, in our mind, in our emotional life all the time, that we don't get perspective, we don't get release, we don't get a kind of capacity to see it for what it is. We are in it. The worst of the situation that we are in, this virus, can bring some of us to the very door of death itself. And it could be any one of us, it could be multitudes of us, excuse me, it could be none of us. But the reality of death is pervasive. And how we react to it when it becomes that present tense is many ways defining of who we are and how we live our lives, how we are able to move forward or not move forward, how paralyzed we become by the fear, and how released we can become by the present tense reality that we're not dead, that we're actually right here, wherever here is. Of course, that's a good question. Where is here? That's a kind of answer that starts to come when you start to meditate and get perspective. You start to see that here is not exactly the material space that you're in, and it's not even in a way the body that you're in. Here is something that reveals itself as you sit quietly, as you let go of your attachment to thinking, feeling, being engaged in the future tense of the world or the past tense of the world, and you just allow yourself to find yourself here. And as you sit in here, which means releasing yourself, which is the work, from the what might be and what was, or even from deeply engaging the form of the moment, let it go, let it go. And what you discover is that here is not formed as you imagine it to be. It is not a projection of next week or next month or an hour from now. It has nothing to do with where you come from. Here is completely identified by its own existing truth, its reality. And the less you bring your mind into that event and try to shape it or understand it or figure out what to do with it, just be in it. It is wondrously present. And it speaks to you in very quiet, almost musical, almost emotional terms. And mostly what you feel is, oh, wow, wow. It's a kind of good luck. It's like miraculous. It's like awesome to be here. And what you feel is that what here is not a body, it's not a mind, it's not a narrative history, it's not something that might become something else. It's a completely alive now. Alive is the key word. It is very alive. It is so alive that what you may begin to understand or see, that what is really dead is you in the present moment. If you want to know what death feels like, it's really like sitting encased in a body, in a mind that's locked into its fear, into its stress, into its I can't go outside, this is it, death is on the doorstep. That is already death. Death is being locked into an unmovable, unshakable solidity. And the freedom that comes when you let that go and you enter inside and you become aware of being alive. Wow. Right there in the middle of your own death-like straitjacket is this breathing, relaxed, eyes open, amazed, grateful, wondrous presence. It's there. It is there at this very second. It is the ultimate truth. Whatever is, is. Your reaction to the is will predictably, when it really unfolds for you, become gratitude and wonder. That's what you will experience. When you touch what is, it's like, when you project what should be, what you wish could be, what might happen, you will be in a different state. When you dwell on the past and what might have been, could have been, should have been reality, or how wonderful it was then, you are locking yourself out of the present moment. The future moment, if you project it as something beautiful, basically means you think it's going to be better than this. And it means whenever somebody talks to me about future, I know they're not here, because it never gets better than this. Maybe the outside form of it starts to look more attractive on some temporary level, because everything that gets built and created ultimately gets destroyed, because the world of appearances, the world of matter, of manifested form, is a temporary thing. It emerges from this wondrous place of no thing. It is literally incomprehensible. The mind cannot ever understand how this happens, let alone what happens in it. If you live a certain kind of life, you may live a life of what we will call predictability and familiarity, which means you think you know the next second. or one of 12 seconds from now, or that you'll graduate on that date, or there will be a wedding on that date, or a party at this point. That's your mind. And the world right now is telling us, forget that. All your projections are meaningless because the world is bigger than your projections. What's real is you're stuck in a place that is an apartment, a house, somewhere, if you're lucky. You're stuck there for the moment. And what can you do in that place? You can rail against the solidness of the walls, of the can't go outness of it all, the unpleasantness of it all, or sit still and do the work, which is sit there quietly, take a breath, and discover, because it's always discovered over and over, no matter how often you know it's there, it's discovered. Just like Krishna dancing for the gopis, he keeps hiding behind the bushes and they discover him again. It's like that. But this is like over and over for us. You discover that at this quiet inner space inside you, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, this is an opportunity to find out. Go in this space and wait for this thing that happens. Don't project what it will be. Let it be what it is. And what it is can be expressed in a million different ways, but it will be expressed right for you. You will feel this sense of, huh, huh. That's all I can tell you, huh. There are times where that huh makes you sob. There are times where it leaves you in a state of complete unknowing, but it's okay. You just feel, I am. You can add the word alive. I am. Here. I am. And it's okay. It calms you down. It centers you. It helps you breathe. It helps you relax. It helps you feel you don't need to have a scotch and whiskey or whatever your thing is. You don't need to go to the gym. All you need to do is be quiet. And it sits there with you. And it is so beautiful. It's beautiful. If you don't have anything beautiful around you, which I find hard to believe, order a book online of paintings that you like or something. Or even people with beautiful bodies, if you can get past your sexual sort of need, just go to the beauty. Look at something beautiful and just go, okay. Now you have to get rid of your attachment to the outer by realizing that it's a reflection of the inner. All beauty, all majesty of the world is a projection of something from within. Our reality and our experience of that is a spirit watching itself manifested, projected into a space, and it becomes the world, the universe, life, physicality, other people, jobs, going to the movies. All of that gets projected into this incredible space. And if you think about it, it's like, what an amazing thing that space has been created for me to have fun, to have a life, to build things, to enjoy, or to work my ass off for some reason, to not get paid enough for some reason, to worry about having enough food. The world is a very strange manifestation, and it's there mostly to reflect who we are, to teach us about ourselves, to help us understand the highest calling within us, which is, how do I bring my awareness of spirit and something greater into the form that it has presented? I can bring light into the world and fill the world with light, or I can bring darkness and misery and suffering into the world. We have this extraordinary capacity to follow out our genetic predisposition and make the world whatever it is we are seemingly called upon to do. Here's the great thing. If you were brought into the world with parents who didn't love you and life that wasn't working well, and you had all the odds against you, we have inspirational stories that tell us that doesn't have to be the end of it for you. You can break through what the world has presented. You can find your way into something bigger and greater. Rudy was one of those people. He had a difficult mother, a father who left him. He was gay. He had hard issues in life. He was put upon. He just took all of that and he turned it around and he transformed the outer by digging deep into the inner and created a world around him that reflected his work. It is transformative. He talked about that all the time. We can transform what we're given by transforming our inner reaction to what appears. So all these negative forces appear, and you can go crying under the table if you want. You can go, why me, God? And look at the world and go, what a piece of shit, this is terrible. Or you can really go deep, deep within. Again, do the work, dig that hole, move into that space. I'll tell you again, it's very welcoming if you do it. Go in there, and suddenly you will see, I'm alive. Oh my God, I'm alive in the wonderland of manifested form. It is here for me. I can play in this garden. I can run through these streets. I can walk through the forests. I can see the sky. I can watch the sunset. I can see it rise. I can see people on the street who I find beautiful and dazzling or scary. I find people who smile at me and cause smiles to arise from my face. There's an interaction between people. I can love people. I can have sex with people. I can live with people. We can have a life together, or I can live apart and quiet and sublimely connected to myself. Whatever it is that's happening, there has to be a part of you that goes, I am this. I am this solitary figure. I am this married figure. I am in this partnered figure. I am unhappy. I am happy. All of that stuff all goes on in your life. Take a moment and pull back. Do the work and know you are not the manifestation which is temporary. You are the thing which generated it into being. You created it. You are the creator, or you are part of the creator in your manifested state. I'm working on a show, and I'm writing these characters, and they're coming very alive for me. And it's a wonderful show about bringing light into a world of darkness. And I'm so invested in these characters. And I sit down when I'm writing and I watch this imaginative inner space bringing these beings into light and putting them on a page. The page is words now, so it's translated down into words. But for me, in my mind, they're living entities, and they are wonderful phantasmagorical figures. And I am creating this world. It's interesting, in the moment of so much nothingness happening for people, I'm just filled with creative flow because I've attracted that. But I'm watching what it means to give life to something. And also, as I'm giving life and telling stories, I realize I have to have urgency. I have to have time clocks. I have people who are dying. I have issues. I have tension. I have drama. All these things that I'm creating, and they keep the story going. And if I don't create it, the story falls apart. It's like, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. You don't want that. You want really good storytelling. And let me tell you, we are all in the middle of a great story. Something has happened to all of us. We are in the middle of a collective story. We are in this together. And in a certain sense, there's enjoyment in that. There's like, wow, this has never happened before. Wow, I have no idea what's happening next. Wow, what could happen? Projection, terrible things, wonderful things. Nobody knows. The great, great lesson of all of this really is nobody knows. Nobody. Nobody knows anything in the whole world. From the president who claims he knows it all, to those of us on the bottom who claim total ignorance, nobody knows. We're just here in this. The only thing any of us knows, any of us, one thing, it ends. It's the only thing. Everything else is conjecture. Everything else is the fun of creation or the misery of creation. But the one thing we all know There will come a moment, and it could come as fast as this week, that you're going to die. I talked about that last week. I guess that's probably, I'll talk about it a lot. But it's the one thing we know. You are going to die, and it could happen really fast, because all you have to do is touch the one orange that the guy in the supermarket put on the shelf and wasn't wearing gloves, and you take it home and you forget to wash it, and you eat the orange, and 5 days later you're on a ventilator. Horrible story, but that can happen. You can get in a car accident on the way to the grocery store. You can go on and on. All of us are going to die. And at that moment when we die, we are going to have to be working as hard as that monk sitting, burning in flames, that began this talk. You have no idea how hard he is working. Let me tell you, he was not learning how to work for the first time once he set himself on fire. He did not suddenly begin to say, how do I die? How do I do this? How do I surrender to fire? How do I surrender to the greatest pain imaginable? What do I do? Well, Rudy said from early on, it's a practice. It's a practice. You do not want to begin that practice in the last minutes of your life, because you won't be any good at it. You will be there screaming and crying and yelling and trying to figure it out, and they will be ripping you apart, and your flesh and everything you're attached to will be literally taken away. And then, most likely, when it's all gone, there's going to be this, I'm here. I'm here. What was that? What was all that? This amazement. Wow, I'm still here. And then maybe a complete acceptance of that, or maybe a kind of twinge of regret that you've always just been here and didn't recognize it. That it comes as a surprise when in fact it could have come as an affirmation of something you believed your whole life, or even knew your whole life. If you sit and you work and you go into this place of spirit, of higher consciousness, of awareness, and you see your life multidimensionally in a way from a place far away into a world of form. And then when the form goes away, you just go back to where you've always gone every time you meditated. You watch that process, and yes, you have to work, because yes, saying yes to the moment can be very difficult and takes work. But if you can do that, you can live a world of spirit and a world of form at the same time. And the wonder of that is kind of beyond understanding. Again, I can only talk from my own experience. My own experience at this moment in time, as I described the last few classes, is nothing but kind of beautiful. I'm living a truly sweet, what feels like blessed moment, more so than ever. I go for walks outside, and I cannot believe the beauty of the world I am in. They finished the new room in our house this week, and I walk into my house and I walk into this new room and I go, I cannot believe the beauty of the space I am in. I look at my wife, who I've looked at for 52 years, as we make dinner and we eat and we clean up, and I go, oh, to have found someone to share a life with for 50 years and to still be at peace with, to love, to be connected to not be like pulling your hair out or running crazy to, why did I do this? Why did I marry this person? None of that. It's like, wow. I barely see my grandchildren, but I see them on little Zoom videos, and I just go, it's all beautiful. It's all beautiful. And I'm not trying to sell my story. I'm trying to help you see your story. There is a story in there, guys. There is a story. And if it's not the narrative of what your life has been, it's the narrative of what does it mean to be alive? What does it mean to live, to have a life? And what better time to feel that when the possibility of leaving this life is very much around you? What better time to feel what it means to be here? Sit on the grass in your backyard if you have a backyard, or sit on your carpet and run your hands over the blades of grass or the threads in the carpet and feel them. When you were a little kid, you did that all the time. You could just sit there and rub your hands over the carpet and go, ooh, ooh, ooh. It just felt good, and grass feels great. And lie on the grass or look out the window and just look at the sky and watch some of the clouds move by. Sit there. Be still. Don't make this work. Make it practice. Make it something that gives you, if you will, the reward of being who you truly are. You are this temporary manifested form, and you are infinite truth wrapped up in this body. Just trust me on that. And if you don't trust me, figure it out on your own, because when you get there, you will know this for a fact. This whole process of life is a gift. It's just a gift. It's for you to have and enjoy and experience. And it has to have narrative drama, or you wouldn't want to stay here. It has to have ups and downs. It has to have good and bad. It has to have drama. But if you can find this navigational system, just like, when I turn on my car and it tells me turn here, turn there, turn here, turn there, which for me is godlike, that system is inside you. And it says, turn here, go here, don't say that, go do this, apologize for what you just did right now, because that will fix it, do this, do that. You follow that directive, and what happens as a result is your life is guided by this inner awareness. So I know I talk about this week after week after week after week, but I will tell you, I look at all of you and I see some of you who are making the journey, and I see a lot of you who are just pretending, making yourself feel good if you do your 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half hour sit. It's not about feeling good. It's about arriving at the source of goodness itself. That's what it is. And trust me, it is goodness incarnate. The thing you find in yourself is so much of a higher, blessed, directed space. And it will inform your life. And when you are done with life, it will take you back. Will it be uncomfortable going back? Probably. It is for most people. Why? No answers. But like Rudy said, you have no idea how hard that guy is working. Get your work in place. Do the work. Practice. Walk around and say thank you. Touch a few trees. Touch each other. Enjoy the furniture. Be amazed when you open the refrigerator that there's something to eat. Say thank you when hot water, or even any water, comes through your faucet. It can get down to that kind of simple thing. Be grateful for what you have and what you are. Now I can go on and on, because it is an inexhaustible supply of gratitude. It's an inexhaustible supply of wonder and awe. Trust me, 77 years of going, wow, wow. And the universe brought me Rudy. It brought me that first LSD trip, which said everything's other than what you think. It brought me to go on a hitchhiking journey around the world to look for teachers. This kid from Detroit who would never, barely go downtown. It pushed me, it inspired me, and it continues to do that. And it will do that for all of us. Hand yourself over to your own spirit. Let it tell you what to do, how to do it, and then say thank you, because it doesn't operate if you don't say thank you. It absolutely wants, it's not like you have to say thank you. When it happens, you'll only want to say thank you. It's nothing you have to do. It flows out of you completely naturally. Anyway, guys, I really, really love you all. I am so grateful that you showed up for this Zoom class. I hope it was worth your time. It was worth my time. So that's all I can tell you. Any of you who need to or want to be in touch at any given time, I'm around. I'm working hard on this show, but I can make time to say hi or answer questions if you want. And I can even try that right now. I know that last week I asked for questions and nobody had any. And so that may be the case again. But if anybody here wants to ask a question, I will try to provide some kind of insight. Yeah. Okay, Todd.
Not so much a question as maybe just something that happened that I'd like to share. It was funny at the beginning of meditation, or actually before meditation started, I was just appreciating all the features that Zoom has. And I was thinking, that'd be great to incorporate those into my life, like, mute button and virtual background, background. And I thought, they're referring to the background obviously behind me, but I was thinking my own background, that historical identified background of my past. And as soon as meditation started, of course, and I entered into that infinite space, sort of like you were talking about with Rudy, like the background, my identified background, I couldn't find it. It was like trying to find a grain of sand in a beach. And so when you talked about Rudy in that way, I thought it was funny. And I thought with the whole Zoom world, I'd share it.
Yeah, thank you. Rudy would have been the first one on Zoom. And he would have been doing collective classes from the get-go. He was really aware of the value of staying connected, and also his heart was so big and his tip was so big, he needed to give the milk. Anyone else? Because I don't have everybody on the screen, you can just speak up if you're on a different screen. I won't be able to tell. Back and forth. Okay, Carmen, for whatever it's worth, I felt Bo so strongly in this class today, and he was sending so much love to you, I cannot tell you. It was like he said, just pour it into the room. And so if you felt it at all, it's because it was real. And he was very present with you and really, really loving you. Also, the message, if there was a message, was it continues. It just continues. Hey, Ed, you're so far away on the screen. If you can sit closer the next time, it's just a little easier to see you. You don't have to move now. It's fine, but just so you know. And couples who can sit together on the screen just helps me have fewer screens, which is a little bit helpful. And
Bruce?
Yes.
Jenny, are you doing this every week? I don't know if I know that.
I am. I'm doing 2 weeks with the New York class, 1 week with the San Rafael class, and 1 week with the LA class. And I will send a note to each group letting them know when I am doing the class. So mostly for California, it'll be 1 week for North and 1 week for South. And you'll get a note in about a month from now. And then after we go back to any kind of normalcy, we'll see whether we want to keep doing this, because there'll still be classes and I just won't be the teacher.
All right, awesome. I look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you, Sanjay. Is that it, guys? Feels like it. Okay. Thank you. I have to figure out how to sign out of here, but as long as I'm doing that, just know that I really love you, and thanks for showing up.